So Critical Role Campaign 3 continues to truck along. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fraud on the Telly. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down everything that happened in Critical Role Campaign 3 episode 66, an episode that was one half Orem slice of life, and the other, a trip into the nightmare world of Matt Mercer. As well, in this episode, our party are sent on a fetch quest to procure a flower that it would be able to heal Keyleth's uncurable wounds. As always, guys, you know the drill, strap yourselves in. This episode was really good. Let's just get right into the video. So we last left off a certain dead girl and a sorcerer with mommy issues finally got shipped off, leading the fan base to go absolutely nuts. However, we're gonna have to put that love affair on the back burner, as this episode was primarily focused on one Orem, everyone's favorite halfling fighter, who is by far the most normal person in this party of absolute crazies. Like we said in this episode, our party had journeyed to Zephrah, the home of the Arashari. Here they speak with Keyleth, who is trying to recover after the battle with Ludinus. In this battle, Keyleth suffered a number of wounds from Otahan using her strange toxin, strange kind of poison, one that prevents healing magic or resurrection magic from working at all. We see that Keyleth is extremely fucked up. She has a number of very much open cut wounds all throughout her body. This was very gross and visceral by Matt, but it really did a good job of kind of conveying just the direness of the situation. These whole scenes with Keyleth were great. Matt does a really good job of playing Keyleth. It's so very interesting still getting used to Matt Mercer playing the mini player characters from Campaign 1, obviously with a bit of a time skip, like 30 plus years since the events of Campaign 1, but he does a really good job, in my opinion, conveying how Keyleth would actually react and feel in these situations. We see that Keyleth is really freaking pissed. Obviously, she would be, as in her mind, she believes that Vax'ildan has been completely destroyed. We have to remember back to the events of the Apogee Solstice that basically the attack on Keyleth was essentially a complete diversion from the very beginning, all to get Vax'ildan to appear, as Ludinus had some plan to harness Vax'ildan and his shred of divinity energy in order to, I guess, release Predathos or bind the moon of Ruidus to the plane, the prime material plane. It's interesting because it seems like Keyleth believes that Vax is dead? That's very much what it seemed like. Obviously, we know from a Raven Queen vision from last episode, or maybe it was the episode before, that Vax is in fact not dead. He is just in absolute agony and suffering. Very surprising that our party didn't relay that information, but I guess we'll have to see what happens in the future. It's also interesting to see Keyleth's anger. Now, we know from Campaign 1, obviously, if you watch Campaign 1, that Keyleth herself is not a fan of the god. She never has been throughout her time, especially when Marisha played her, but it seems that even now, 30 plus years later, she's still very much not, as well, an avid worshiper of the gods, we'll say. She refers to them as kind of custodians of this world, as the druidic people. Her people worship the natural world, that according to them was here long before the gods ever got there. There was this really powerful line that Matt had as Keyleth where she said that she'd been angry for the last 30 years, obviously referencing Vax's death and his contract with the Raven Queen that happened in Campaign 1. Overall, just a great scene, a very interesting scene from Keyleth, this character who has been, really very stoic, very powerful, very humble, and very kind, basically throughout our time knowing her, especially in Campaign 3, and now to see her kind of broken, hurt, and this creature of really just emotion. We start to see her humanity, her normalcy, because she is just a person at the end of the day, kind of peek through, and this was overall just a great scene. For the first half of our episode, we kind of have this Orem slice of life episode, as Orem has returned home to Zephrah. We meet all of these people that we know from his backstory, his family, his extended family, his mother. Overall, this was just really sweet. There are a bunch of really interesting moments to kind of get an idea into Orem as a character. We've joked a lot in Campaign 3 that Orem is very much the odd man out in Bell's Hells in this party, because they are a chaos crew while he is the kind of one shred of normalcy. But you need this shred of normalcy in a party like this in order to anchor them. So Orem, in my opinion, is probably the most important member of Bell's Hells, very much for that reason. He keeps the party on the rails. Another fun little side note here, we see in Orum's visit with his mother, we see him pull out some of his old toys from when he was a child, only to discover that these wooden toys that he had played with were actually made by Chetney. They are branded with C-Pop Industries. Just a fun little reference, a fun little moment here in Campaign 3. Any moments where Travis gets to be fun and silly and be comedic relief, especially with a character like Chetney, I absolutely love. For the second half of our episode, our party are sent out to obtain a very special flower, one that Matt, for some reason, gave a very unfortunate name. Keyleth tells us that this flower is the only thing that is potentially possible to treat her wound, so basically our party gets sent on a fetch quest, but not just any fetch quest, a fetch quest to a very dangerous part of Tal'Dorei, potentially one of the most dangerous parts in all of Tal'Dorei. Our party are sent to the Grey Valley near the Umbra Hills, a section that we haven't really explored, I think, really at all in any of the campaigns of Critical Role so far. One of my favorite personal geographic locations in Tal'Dorei, and one of the most interesting bits of lore for out Tal'Dorei. You see, the Umbra Hills was the place of a large battle in the history of the continent of Tal'Dorei. King Dressic was not a great guy, and he was facing off in battle against a combined force of the elves, the dwarves, and other humans and mortal species who would rise up against him. King Dressic and his sons would grow so desperate they would make contracts with demons in order to receive great power and have demons fight for them in this grand war. Ultimately, they would lose, and this would see the rise of one Zantel Dore, a great hero of Gwasar, who would rise up and be the first, basically Tal'Dorei, the first of their line. These hills would be forever charred black because of the fighting and because of the demonic presence and blood that was scattered all throughout this area, basically making this place an absolute hellhole, a cursed haven where fiends and creepy monsters and undead continue to roam to this day. If you want to learn more information about Critical Role lore, specifically the history of Tal'Dorei, such as this battle like I just told you about, then make sure you go click on our History of Tal'Dorei video. Put the link above. Party managed to make their way through this hellhole, eventually finding the flowers that they need, but all of a sudden a combat breaks out as there is a kind of demonic, fiendish entity that is watching them, along with a host of other scary creatures of the night and undead in this really spooky area. This was one of my more favorite combats, I think, from through all of Campaign 3. In my opinion, combat might be the most difficult thing as a DM in all of D&D, as especially with 5e, combat can either feel extremely satisfying or not satisfying at all. I think it's really tricky to try to get this kind of mix right between a challenging combat that challenges the players versus a combat that's just kind of a hit fest. You can either make a combat challenging in terms of a difficult standpoint in order for a party to overcome, or kind of make a combat with a gimmick that the party need to solve, a kind of different kind of challenge as opposed to just straight up raw damage in numbers. Yeah. Combat is hard. Let me know in the comments down below how you make combat interesting in D&D 5e. Also, this battle map was absolutely sick, but I expect no less nowadays from Matt Mercer, because his battle maps are absolutely nuts. Ultimately, Fern comes in super, super clutch in this battle. I really admire the way Matt allows certain spells, such as Daylight, to have kind of different effects than they normally would for just reading the kind of vanilla game text. Yeah. Awesome DMing by Matt Mercer, awesome playing by the cast. Overall, just a pretty fun episode. At the end of the day, I guess it was kind of just a fetch quest with a bit of lore and kind of backstory scattered throughout. Really, it seems like these episodes that have come at the end of the month, Matt is using as kind of a big cliffhanger in order for the next episode at the beginning of the month. Overall, it seems like our campaign has slowed down a lot, which necessarily isn't a bad thing. It is I am very curious to know what exactly is going on with our baddies, though. We know that Ludinus, as well as Imogen's mother, Liliana, are on the moon of Ruidus right now. We can presume that when the Great White Flash happened on the Apogee Solstice that forced our cast to be teleported all across the world, this also teleported Imogen's mother, as well as Ludinus, to the moon. The question is, what caused this crazy white light? Was this Imogen's mother from the very beginning? Was it just some random series of events? We really just don't know. There's tons of questions left unanswered for Critical Role Campaign 3. I mean, we're only, 66, 67, 60-something episodes in right now? I mean, there's probably going to be at least another 60-plus episodes to go. So yeah, it'll be very curious to see just kind of how the pacing plays out for the rest of Campaign 3, what other big reveals and information we're going to find out. Will there be an arc after the Ruidus arc? We really just don't know. So many questions, so little answers. Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comment section down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see other content like this, some deep dives into Critical Role lore, then why don't you go check out our Critical Role lore explained playlist, or click one of the mini videos on screen now. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, adu.
Before Facebook and bullshit rap, there was a time when MCs used to bust sick track. Now